DNA testing has allowed some descendants of enslaved people to trace their origins to specific African regions or ethnic groups. Families torn apart 400 years ago are discovering their connections. Economists have tried to calculate the monetary value stolen from Africa through the slave trade. The calculations are almost meaningless because how do you price the value of a human life, of a destroyed civilization, of centuries of development that never happened? But even conservative estimates are staggering. Some historians calculate that the Atlantic slave trade extracted the equivalent of trillions of dollars in today's money from Africa in both labor and lost economic development. British profits from the slave trade helped finance the Industrial Revolution. American wealth, particularly in the South, was built on enslaved labor. Caribbean sugar made European merchants incredibly wealthy. Meanwhile, Africa was left depopulated, destabilized, and impoverished, setting the stage for the colonial conquest that followed immediately after the slave trade ended. The world we live in today, the wealth gaps between continents, the power imbalances, the lingering racism, all of this has roots in the Atlantic slave trade. Let's be clear about the numbers. Africa's population was growing before the Atlantic slave trade. Demographers estimate sub-Saharan Africa had about 50 million people in 1500. By 1850, after 3.5 centuries of slave trading, Africa's population was about 100 million. Sounds like growth, right? But if Africa had experienced the same population growth rate as the rest of the world during those centuries, it would have had over 200 million people by 1850. Africa lost over 100 million potential people, those who were taken, those who died in the process, and those who were never born because of the demographic collapse. Certain regions were hit harder. Angola lost an estimated 40% of its population. Parts of West Africa's coast were nearly depopulated. Some ethnic groups disappeared entirely. The gender imbalances created by preferentially capturing men meant population recovery was even slower. Fewer children were born. Social structures broke down. Some regions still haven't recovered. Parts of Central Africa have lower population densities today than they did in 1500. The Atlantic slave trade destroyed Africa's economic development in multiple ways. Selective removal of the productive population